Hello students, and welcome to your actual first content video. This one is going to be about the scientific method, which you should have open on page 0.6, ready to go, ready to discuss. So I know just from reading this that this is going to be about the method used for science. So I guess how we do science. Let me write that so that I can keep track of my notes. So how we do science. Alright, so the scientific method, now I'm reading here, is a process for experimentation. Well, I know an experiment is a test, so experimentation must be testing that's used to explore observations and answer questions. Well, that's good. We're going to be answering lots of questions in class. Scientists use the scientific method to search for cause and effect relationships in nature. I'm noticing cause and effect is bold. That must mean it's important. I know an effect is when something happens. And I know that a cause is what makes something happen. So an example of a cause and effect would be if you go bowling and you throw the bowling ball really, really well and you get a strike and all the pins, they explode and all the girls are like, "Wow, you're amazing, Mr. Larkin." That happens a lot to me. So that would be an example of a cause and effect relationship. Right? But this is in nature, so that's for science. Let's look at the second paragraph. The scientific method starts with a question. I guess that makes sense. If it's the process is answering questions, right, you've got to start with a question. It says after that question is researched, so you look for other people's thoughts, I guess. A hypothesis, another bolded word, is created with just a logical guess. Okay, so that's the first real vocab word. So I'm going to define that down here so that I can study it later. So a hypothesis is a logical guess. Great. Okay. Scientists then design an experiment to test the hypothesis. Alright, so that makes sense. So an experiment is just a test for the hypothesis. The data results, I'm noticing this is in parentheses, so I'm guessing that data and results are the same thing. It's just like another word, a synonym. So the data that come from the experiment are analyzed. Well, I know analyzed means they try and figure out what's going on. And a conclusion is made. So a conclusion, I know a conclusion is like a decision. So a conclusion is made about whether the hypothesis is true or not. If the hypothesis is rejected, the whole process starts again. So that's interesting because basically if scientists fail, so if fail, try again. Otherwise, the conclusion is reported. Let's try and capture some of these other vocab words. I've already got hypothesis. Okay, I need to put down experiment. I guess question is bolded, but it's kind of obvious. A question is just, a question. You're asking something. You're trying to figure something out. So an experiment is a test in science, right? It says a test right here. That's how I figured it out. I'm just doing the reading. And then we know data is the results from the experiment. And then what else? Conclusion. And so we know a conclusion is made, so a decision is made. So decision about if the hypothesis, it's going off the page here, if the hypothesis is true or false. Okay. How about this last one? So just as it does for professional scientists, the scientific method will help you, that would be student, to focus your question, construct a hypothesis, design, execute, and evaluate experiment. Let's look at this figure really quick. So ask a question, do background research. Okay, that's this part right here. Construct a hypothesis. We know a hypothesis is a guess. I'm noticing the arrow is going this way, so I'm going to go down, and then I guess we get here later. Test with an experiment. Analyze results, draw a conclusion. I'm noticing there are two options. It can go, the hypothesis is true, or the hypothesis is false. It looks like if it's false, or it says partially true, so sort of true, then they try again. So that's what we put down here. If fail, try again. And it goes back around. So it looks like it just keeps going until you get hypothesis true, then you report the results, which I guess you'd report them also if it's false. All right, but once you're done, then you don't go back and make another hypothesis if it's already true. Interesting. So this is on page 7, and it's just strategies for identifying steps of the scientific method. So we know observations are just things that you use with your 5 senses. So if something says you see, or you feel, or words like that, those are probably observations. I'm not going to fill in every single key here because I think you can come up with your own, but this is the idea. Hypothesis, that would be like a guess, right? So if you see the word guess, or wonder, or they're not sure but they think, right? Those are all hypotheses. An experiment, we know that's a test. We know it comes after the hypothesis, so they have to first think of, oh, I think this will happen if blah, 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 and then they can do a test. Data, we know those are the actual results. So data comes after the experiment. And then conclusion is the actual decision. So if you see they came to a decision that blah, 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 blah. So again, you should be able to fill in multiple other words to help you identify the scientific method if you understand the reading. All right, so I look forward to discussing this with you in class and doing more learning throughout the semester. Remember to review as needed, go rewatch sections if you're still confused, and be ready to discuss in class. Have a good day.